Welcome to another week, another show of Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. And as you can see on the screen, Pat Anger, former Hawkeye linebacking great, also Indianapolis Colt linebacking great formerly. And we're going to get to Pat here in just a moment. Want to say thanks again for bringing us into season four. Yes, season four now, statewide television on Sinclair broadcast television stations in the eastern Iowa market on Fox 28 in Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, also in central Iowa, Fox 17 in Des Moines. And then Western Iowa, Sioux City area, CBS 14, of course, our friends in Southeast, South Central Iowa at KTVO, CBS. So that being said, thanks again for tuning in. Got another great show lined up for you today. After Pat Angerer, he's going to join us for the first couple of segments. And then John Steppe, beat writer for Iowa Hawkeyes Athletics with the Cedar Rapids Gazette. John Steppe will join us to close out the show. That being said, Pat Angerer, my friend, thank you so much for joining us. I want to reintroduce you to the Hawkeye viewing public and to the state. And gosh, it's great to see you and talk with you. How you doing, my friend? And thanks so much.
I'm doing good, man. Hey, I appreciate you having me. It's always good talking to you, man.
Yeah, you too as well. So, Pat, let's start here. Before we get to your playing days and for the Hawkeyes, I'm also in high school at Bettendorf High School. So you're an Iowa All-Stater formerly and also a Hawkeye All-Conference, All-Big Ten, All-American linebacker. Played in the NFL, second-round draft pick by the Indianapolis Colts in 2010 and had a nice four-year career there. But, Pat, it's interesting. You go back to your pre-kids days, as I mentioned with your wife, Mary Beth, and you actually, for the first time in years, look at each other, like you said, when you didn't have games scheduled, and you actually look at each other and say, "What do you want to do today?" I don't know. What do you want to do? First time in a long time, I'm sure, right?
That's the truth. It's weird, not being rushed, because you get them home from whatever and you're rushed. You gotta eat dinner. You gotta get them ready. You gotta find all their stuff, and yeah, it's weird not being rushed and be able to relax. And yeah, we'll be rushed tonight once I get off of work and try to get
Yeah.
all the kids' football pads and all that stuff figured out.
Yeah, well, again, I greatly appreciate you taking some time away today. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about your career and your life, and then leading into your NFL career, and then we'll talk in the second segment about your assessment of how you think the Hawks look this year and what's been going on as of late with bringing in star talent from the transfer portal on the offensive side of the football with Cade McNamara, quarterback, and Eric All, tight end, and other Seth Anderson, wide receiver. But then on the defensive side, excuse me, Nick Jackson coming in to be the star linebacker, transferring in from Virginia. So you know all about that. But I wanted to talk about your playing days, and you were at the Hawkeyes. You redshirted your first year, but then from '06 to '09, your four-year playing career. And well, let's talk first of all about what you're doing today professionally. We talk about your family life, but let's talk about where you're at today, and then I want to get into your playing career, if we could, please. If you do that for us, please, Pat.
Yeah, so currently right now I work at IH Mississippi Valley Credit Union. I do business development, community funding. Previously I was at IH doing mortgages. Got out, I think it was in April, switched positions, and I've really been enjoying this. It's not a great market as far as interest rates go for mortgage, but it's a great market for deposits, and that's kind of what I've been kind of focusing on. And as well as taking, obviously we're a credit union, and our big thing is the community that we serve. Being able to give our money, donations all throughout the community. That's fun. I'm really good at giving money away. My wife's better at it, but
Especially other
it's
people's money, right?
yeah, exactly, exactly. But yeah, no, it's been a great transition. I enjoy working at IH. Everybody's pretty cool.
Very
Um,
good.
yeah,
And stayed in the Quad Cities area. From Bettendorf, you and your wife again. And I mentioned Mary, and so you guys are still there with your kids. And but one guy and a Quad Cities area guy from Pleasant Valley, just a little bit north of you, Brett Greenwood. And I know you're too humble to say this, but you and some former teammates still help out with Brett, and we know that the terrible tragedy that health crisis that hit him, and you're helping him with his physical therapy, and former teammate of yours, and I guess we can still say current teammate, because I just think the work that you and some of your former teammates, but you specifically, still are doing with Brett. I'll tell you, there's nothing more encouraging to see that happen from your playing days, and you bring it to your life. Brothers for life, as they say. I'm guessing that's true, right, Pat?
yeah. It's funny with Brett. Growing up, obviously he was a year younger than me, and competed against him in every sport. And gosh, you just used to hate him. You hated playing against him. He was always in shape. He was always trying every single play, no plays off, nothing like that. Like he was just always in your face, became teammates with him in Iowa, and you realized why he was so good because he did everything right. And he's the epitome of an Iowa football player. He does everything the right way, and he continues that to this day. Obviously, what happened to him was absolutely terrible. And he's got a wonderful family, a great support system, and he's tougher than hell. And being able to be with him and be around him, and I don't, it's nothing. I don't do anything crazy, but just being able to be there, it probably benefits me more than it benefits him. It gives me a purpose. When you're done with football, you're all of a sudden done being a part of a team, and you're done with that purpose that you had your whole life. Well, Brett gives me that, and obviously I don't hate him anymore. I love him, and was actually just with him. Was just with him about an hour ago, getting some work in on the treadmill. Obviously, my fat ass wasn't on the treadmill, but his was, and it's he's the best of us, man, and his family is unbelievable, and he's a real man, and if you're not with a brother through something like this, then whatever we were taught and whatever we preached when we were playing and we were teammates, we'd be lying. This is what you do. This is what everybody does. This is what you should do, and it shouldn't be applauded. It should be expected.
Well, and again, kudos to you and your teammates, but especially you. And like you said, you were just with them today. And the Brett Greenwood Foundation, check it out online, folks, please, if you would. And again, to your point, though, it's amazing exactly how you described everything, Pat. Brett was working out after played his Iowa career and was still staying in shape and trying to catch on somewhere. And it was working out on September 9th of 2011 and had a heart arrhythmia and collapsed and was resuscitated. But the detrimental, what it did to his health detrimentally, and now trying to battle back. And we all remember that emotional scene years later when you and the current Hawkeyes tried to walk him out. Yep. Yeah, Coach Doyle. I mean, what a tear-rendering moment that was. You guys walked him out on out of the tunnel at Hawkeye at Kinnick Stadium. I mean, I'm stammering for words now. It's just that is awe-inspiring, Pat.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome, and I don't know. I didn't anticipate how great it was going to be. It was awesome, man. It was. I never thought that my best experience in Kinnick would be after I got done playing.
Amazing that you say that yet again. When Brett collapsed only 4 years earlier, almost to the day, on September 9, 2011, from that heart arrhythmia, and of course, again, as we know, when he survived that episode caused serious neurological injuries. For those of you that aren't aware, again, the Brett Greenwood Foundation online will explain all that to you. But almost 4 years to the day of his collapse, on September 19th, to your point, 2015, coming out of the tunnel, he was named the honorary captain. Greenwood was, and you and Coach Doyle, and with the team flanking you. Against Pitt, and what a finish to that game it was. Last second field goal victory for the Hawks. Just everything you talk about. There could be a writer's strike as it is right now in Hollywood. You wouldn't need a script writer for how that played out. That whole day was unreal, Pat.
Oh yeah, that's a movie. I mean, with Brett's thing, they had to do CPR on Brett for 45 minutes. He was dead for I think his heart was stopped for, I want to say 10 to 15 minutes if I remember correctly, and he was in a coma for almost 30 days. The fact that he's able to do what he's doing currently is a freaking miracle, and it just shows how stubborn and how tough he is.
Well, and that's the amazing thing, like you said, that's the spirit and the warrior and all you guys. And just, again, thank you for sharing that. I know you're too humble to say a lot of this stuff, but I want to tell you folks, the work that Pat still does, as he just mentioned today, he was with Brett and the former teammates that are in and around the Quad Cities area. It's really just heartwarming stuff. And brothers for life, no truer, as you mentioned, the emblematic of all you guys of what it's to be, what it's like to be a Hawkeye. And so thank you for sharing that with us, but that is great stuff. Well, let's do this, Pat. Let's run to a quick break. I really appreciate your insights and everything else that you've told us. Folks, right there he is. He is Pat Angerer, former Iowa Hawkeye linebacking great, and back in Iowa, in the Quad Cities, his native Quad Cities with his family. And so now we'll get to this year's Hawkeyes after this next commercial break. So he's Pat Angerer. I'm Dave O'Hara. It's Hawkeyed. We'll be back with more in just a few moments.
To have a strong finish, you need an excellent start. It's true on the track and also in the field. That's why Mershman Seeds works tirelessly to deliver cutting-edge technology year after year. Introducing Starting Line, Mershman Seeds' latest advancement in seed treatment, now providing added protection from white mold and sudden death syndrome. all season. Ask for starting line seat treatment from Mershman Seats, your friend in the field.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. You can see on the screen Pat Angerer joining us, former Hawkeye linebacking great, played in the NFL with the Colts, second-round draft pick back in 2010, former All-American, former All-Big Ten at Iowa, and now back in the Quad Cities with his family and his wife Mary and their 3 kids, and living a dream, as they say, right, Pat? As you're smiling with me there, you told me earlier in the first break, living a dream.
Somebody's dream, right? Somebody's dreaming.
We'll go with that. So, Pat, let's talk. Speaking of somebody's dream, we have viewers aplenty who just live and breathe, and as you know, as a former Hawkeye great, living and breathing and dreaming that dream of the Iowa Hawkeyes. And this year, they're hoping to improve on that 8-5 record, especially on the offensive side of the football, with much ballyhooed transfer from Michigan, Cade McNamara at quarterback. Of course, Nick Jackson coming in to lead the defense from Virginia transfer portal. We'll go on both sides of the ball. Let's talk on your side of the football first, being a former linebacker. Let's talk about what Nick Jackson brings. And gosh, he's joining guys like, there were some losses on defense with a guy like Jack Campbell. How do you not talk about that? Or Van Ness. But then you take a look at what you bring in, and you still got Xavier Wampa coming back. You've got Cooper DeJean coming back. Still got great punting and kicking, especially punting with Torrey Taylor coming back on the special teams. But Nick Jackson coming in to bolster that defense. You know what it's like to play on a Parker-led defense. Either Norm Parker back in your day as the defensive coordinator, but now Phil Parker, defensive coordinator. What does Nick Jackson bring, and what's this defense look like to you this year, Pat?
I think he's going to do an excellent job. It's super athletic and strong and fast and has a lot of playing experience. Not worried about him at all. Obviously played for Coach Norm Parker, and we maybe ran like 2 or 3 defenses. Phil does a little bit more. These kids are a lot smarter than we were. If we had like 4 more defenses, we would have not known what the hell we were doing. Granted, we didn't really before. We just had Greenwood just tell us what to do, and that made it a lot easier. But yeah, I think linebacker wise, I think he's going to do a great job. I think D line is going to be. That's going to be the thing. I think on both sides of the ball, how can our O-line and D-line, how can they win the game? I think that's the key. That's the key to success offensively and defensively. And yeah, looking forward to it, man. I'm excited to watch. I'm excited to sit down and enjoy the game and watch it.
And so, Pat, when we talk about your playing days at Iowa and playing for Coach Ferentz, and you mentioned Coach Doyle and how that era was back there, and again, your playing days, you came in as a red shirt in 05, but then from 06 to 09, and again, your career was culminated by being all Big Ten, All-American, second-round draft pick, late second round by the Indianapolis Colts in 2010. There are probably so many memories that go through your mind every time when I mention your playing days at Iowa. What are a few games, obviously capped by an Orange Bowl victory your senior season, and then you got married later that year to, again, your high school sweetheart, Mary. But what was your experience like at Iowa? Things that jump out at you or stand out to you, and I hate to have you encapsulate your career in 1 or 2 comments, but what really leaps out to you, Pat?
I think when I look back at my career and I look back at just Iowa football in general, the right guys are in that building. And if you literally just do what they say, you're going to be successful, whether it's on the field or in life. Like, the answers to the test are right there. Like, that's the cheat code. They're the cheat code. So it's just such a special place. I don't know if there's very many places like that where if you just do what they say, you are going to have success. And for me, my career, started out decently slow. I mean, I always had I worked my butt off, obviously, on the field, but I also did a really good job of having a really good time off the field. So I wasn't fully invested, I would say, in my future as an Iowa football player. I didn't make that the most important thing in my life. And really the game that was a turn for me was my sophomore year in Wisconsin. We were playing up in Wisconsin, and there was a lot of linebackers got hurt, and they were looking around, hey, who do we put in? And it was me and Jacody Coleman. And they put Jacody Coleman in, who was a freshman at that time. So that was a big moment for me to look in the mirror and start thinking about what I was doing with my life and how I was approaching the game of football. It was either, hey, this opportunity is going to pass you by, or hey, you got to look in the mirror and you got to change the way you do things. You got to change how you approach things and take extreme ownership in how you live your life. And luckily I did. And it wasn't overnight success. It was chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. And I didn't start until the third game my junior year against Iowa State. And then it was kind of, after that, I had the job. But that was, for my career, like that was the biggest turning point in my career, was my sophomore year up in Wisconsin when I didn't play snap.
Well, and now in your NFL career, and, geez, I can't believe we got this deep into the interview. It's like when I interviewed Tristan Wirfs, and about 10, 12 minutes in, I asked him about playing on the same side of the ball with Tom Brady and winning the Super Bowl. But in your case, you were on the opposite side of the ball, although during practices. What was it like playing during your NFL career with the Indianapolis Colts? Well, hello, that's Peyton Manning on the other side of the ball. What was that experience like for me as you're smiling and laughing with me?
No, it was, I couldn't imagine a better place to go. Just Indianapolis in general, like what a great state, great city. It wasn't overwhelming, but everything I needed was there. It's kind of ironic. My wife's family is originally from Crawfordsville, Indiana. So we had family pretty close there. Yeah, it was, it's kind of funny. It was complete opposite of how my college career started. My NFL career started. I was dialed in, and I would get there early. I'd watch film. I'd get after it. I, made sure I was on top of things. And they actually, as a rookie, they gave me the starting job. I think it was a couple games into the season actually it was the middle linebacker got hurt, Gary Brackett, who's just an unbelievable human being. He got hurt, that I got starting job against the Redskins, had a good game, had a bunch of tackles and sacks and just a good time. And then I was able to get the starting job at Sam linebacker the rest of the season. And it was because they counted on me and they knew that they could trust me, and they knew that I was prepared, and I knew what I was doing. But yeah, it was, gosh, my rookie year, Dallas Clark was the tight end. Peyton Manning was the quarterback. Joseph Adai was the running back. Reggie Wayne was the receiver. So yeah, they did good against us in practice sometimes, and with and when we did good, Peyton would just start practice over, so it wasn't really fair.
That is what I've heard and what I wanted to hear. There you have it. But yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Dallas Clark, former Hawkeye tight end, great. And you talk about we talk regularly on this program about all the former Hawkeyes that are currently in the NFL, like 6th or 7th of all the colleges, the 6th or 7th ranked, very closely behind like the Alabamas and Ohio States with 45 plus, depending on free agent deals and such, as the 53-man roster got cut down yesterday. But, mentioned guys like you and Clark who are no longer in the NFL. And it's just Robert Gallery. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of former Hawkeyes who were in the NFL but are currently in the NFL. So I'm really glad you talked about that, because that to me had to be fun. Like you talk about getting your eyes open in the NFL.
I got to the Colts, and I had Bob Sanders as a teammate, yep. Dallas Clark, Mitch King, Seth Olson, and AJ Eads. I mean, I had some guys that I've been buddies for forever. I mean, what's pretty cool is I played against Mitch King in high school. I played with him in college and in the NFL, and that's Mitch is one of my favorite dudes, man.
You mentioned it right there with Bob Sanders and all the others. And to me, we could almost call the Indianapolis Colts at your time there. We could darn near call it Iowa City East, right? I mean, besides your wife Mary's family being from there, what did you just mention? 5 or 6 former Hawkeyes right there during your time at the Colts.
Yep. It definitely felt like home for sure.
So Pat, I can't even begin to say thank you enough. Thank you for that first segment, getting us up to date on your life, and then giving us your assessment of this year's Hawkeye team moving forward. And once we get some games played, looking forward to your game analysis as well. And all the best continue to you. And thanks so much, Pat Angerer.
Sounds good, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Yep, thank you. For Pat Angerer, I'm Dave O'Hara and Hawkeye. We'll be back with more to close out the show with John Steppe, beat writer for the Iowa Hawkeyes from the Cedar Rapids Gazette. Back with more in just a few moments.
Who do you trust to produce the best yield? A seed company that's chasing technology, or a seed company that's writing a book on it? Merschman Seeds is a leader in technology. We're independent and family owned. Our sister company, MS Technologies, provides access to world-class traits and genetics. And our starting line seed treatment is second to none. Who can you trust with your yields? Merschman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. You can see our buddy John Steppe on the screen. John, beat writer for Iowa Hawkeye Athletics for the Cedar Rapids Gazette. You see all of John's information at the bottom of the screen, along with mine throughout this segment. Places to go to see all of John's handiwork. If you don't have a print copy of the Gazette, be sure to check him out online. Great coverage of the Hawkeyes from John, and always appreciate you joining us. John, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing very well, and thanks again as always. Well, we've belabored it long enough. It is time. That foot is going to meet the ball. By the time most folks see this, we record this on Wednesday afternoon, August 30th. This will be the night before the Hawkeyes kick off, 11:03 on FS1, national cable TV against Utah State at Kinnick Stadium. And John, for those that see it after the fact online, DaveO'HaraSports.com, this will be, I guess, a review and not a preview. But let's get there right now. Let's get to kickoff Saturday. Where the Hawkeyes at? We had a presser yesterday with Kirk Ferentz. You were at. Get us up to speed as to what's being said. I know you and I were talking off the air. Cade McNamara made some comments. What did he say or didn't he say as you're smiling along with me? So let's get to all that right here and right now. I'm out of the way. You go.
Yeah, as you were referencing with Cade McNamara, that's kind of the elephant in the room right now with how important he is to this Hawkeyes team. Whether Cade is available is the biggest question going into pretty much any week. So he did not say definitively whether he is going to play or not play. Kirk Ferentz did not say definitively whether he is going to play or not play. Somebody asked if it'd be fair to say he's questionable. Kirk Ferentz said absolutely. So right now, as we record this on Wednesday afternoon, he is questionable to play. If he does not play, Deacon Hill is the most likely option. The issue with Joe Labus is he's kind of in the same boat as McNamara, where McNamara missed a couple weeks of fall camp. Labus missed even more of fall camp with a soft tissue injury. So Deacon Hill is the guy that's at least healthy. He had some not great moments in the Kids Day open practice earlier this month, but he has a strong arm, and if he can improve that accuracy from what we've seen 3 weeks ago, that would go a long ways. So going back to Cade, it is not a matter of whether he's medically cleared. He has been medically cleared. He's been practicing since the late last week. It's just a matter of how effective can he be, is what Kirk Ferentz was saying. So we'll have to wait and see. We might not know until 2 hours before when Iowa has to submit an availability report. So it's a little bit of a game of wait and see, but it's going to be the big question. Against a team like Utah State, it's not the biggest priority because you can probably get away with not having him against that level of opponent. But certainly you're looking at potentially two much different offenses with Cade McNamara leading it versus Cade McNamara on the bench.
So moving forward from that topic, John, into the depth chart. We've talked a lot about, Cade McNamara. We could do a whole show. What do you always say to me? We could do about other things. We could do a whole show on that, or talk for days on McNamara and whether he plays, doesn't play, the health, the psychology of how do you go about doing this. But let's you and I talk about depth chart. So I'm going to let you take over and talk more defense for us, please, John.
Yeah, so Y.A. Black is moving into a first-team role on the depth chart with Noah Shannon being out with his gambling suspension. I'm really curious to see what Y.A. Black can do. I've probably said before that if I was an offensive lineman, I would really hate to be going up against Y.A. Black with just the incredible athlete he is and his incredible physique. That could be, as long as he stays healthy, which has been a big if. But if he stays healthy, that can be a dangerous person there for offenses to have to go up against. Aaron Graves will be another name to keep an eye on, that's for sure, on the defensive line. The former Max Preps Male National Athlete of the Year. So you've got a really talented guy there. At linebacker, you mentioned Nick Jackson coming in, proven leader, somebody that probably hasn't gotten the hype that you would expect. But you think about it, he was the ACC's leader in tackles per game last year. That's a pretty impressive. You usually don't get transfers in who lead an entire power conference.
And of course, folks, as you know, he is John Steppe, Hawkeye beat writer for the Cedar Rapids Gazette. You see all of John's information on the screen, at the bottom of the screen, along with mine throughout this segment. John, fantastic work as always. Greatly appreciate your coverage, and we'll look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Myself as well. So for John Steppe, former Hawkeye linebacking and NFL linebacking great Pat Anger. Thanks to them. Also my production partner, Michael Merrick, and to you, the viewers. For Hawkeye, I'm Dave O'Hara. That's all from us. Thanks to all of you.
And as always, thanks for staying tuned at the end of the program for these rolling credits to give our advertisers and sponsors the attention and credit they so richly deserve. And as always, to our aforementioned guests and to you, the viewers. That's all from us at Hawkeye. Thanks to all of you.